Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Empower. Today I'm with Craig Moody. It's my first time in a while doing an episode in English. So, Craig, welcome to Empower. How are you doing today?
Bien, bien. ¿Y tú?
Pretty good, pretty good. Good Spanish, good Spanish. I wasn't expecting that.
Spanglish. I grew up in Southern Arizona, so it was kind of forced on me.
That's good. Where did you grow up to?
I was born in Tucson and I grew up in a small mining town down there, outside of Tucson. So
Okay,
yeah, you learned Spanish along with English for the most part, but
that
you,
makes sense. That makes sense. And when did you move to Flagstaff?
well, in all honesty, my mom started going to summer school when I was a kid, as I think I was 6. And so every summer I got to leave and come up to Flagstaff and I loved it. I just loved it so much. I fell in love with Flagstaff. I fell in love with the mountains and the campus and AU campus. So naturally, after I graduated high school in 1984, I gravitated towards Flagstaff and AU.
Where did you where did you get your degree from?
Well, funny story. I never got my degree. I actually had a really good time during college. It just was not for me.
Okay,
But I will tell you a story that, as far as being a contractor goes, I got that question asked a lot, Luis. And
okay.
I finally told somebody one time, I said, I have 5 degrees. They said, you have 5 degrees. Wow, how'd you do that? I says, I never got a degree, but I have 5 people that work for me, all have their degrees, but I never got one.
Okay, okay. That makes sense. That
And
makes
then I
sense.
dropped the
And
mic and kind of walked away. Yeah. So
yeah. And what motivated you to start your first business?
I was a small business consultant, several jobs, but I landed with a large printing company.
Hmm.
And I ended up in the sales department. In the sales department, I had my clients were all small business people because I sold business forms, printing back in the 90s and 80s. Everything was printed, now it's all online and digital, but back then we were still printing. So I was talking to these people every day and they were like making good money. And, like, I was just like, they're not that smart. So I was like, man, I got to get on the other end of the phone. Right. So I need to quit talking and start walking. So
Hmm.
I just kind of started looking around, like, what do we need in Flagstaff? What do I want to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. But my brother, Mitch, who is a businessman, already had a few businesses before I did. And he
Hmm.
was more of a risk taker and much more comfortable with it. So he
Hmm.
really was motivating me, like, come on, let's go into business, get another
Hmm.
business going, let's do this. So I'd say between my brother and then just that printing company and talking to business people all day long is what really motivated me to start my own.
Okay. And when starting a business, what would you say are the biggest challenges? And I'm asking this question because I know that most people want to think big and most people want to like think that they're gonna make it, but statistics show something different. So what would you say is like the thing where most entrepreneurs struggle with?
100% would be time management. What do I do with my time? You didn't take a course at NAU on how to start a business. You can get a business degree, but getting that degree and actually starting a business are two different things.
Hmm.
So it's basically, what should I be doing? How should I be doing this? Buying into a franchise, they are going to kind of put you through a lot of stuff that'll get you out in front and give you kind of a roadmap. But there's just a lot of downtime and a lot of, startups. So basically, time management, how to set up my day and what to do with my day and what to do with my week and scheduling and things like that. I see as one of the biggest, hurdles in small business startups.
Do you struggle with that?
No, I used to. I did 20 years ago, 22 years ago, but I'm now a business coach. I sold my contracting company 3 years ago. And so with my clients, that, are kind of stuck, that, they've kind of hit what we call the law, the lid, they've gone as far as they can
Hmm.
go with their knowledge. Um, a big part of it is just putting together a weekly calendar and
Hmm.
getting them organized. It's really kind of hard to get organized. What should I be doing next? Where should I put my time? Where should I be putting my money? What are my risks? Who should I be talking to? When should I be marketing? When should I be
Hmm.
hiring? Things like that. Yeah.
And when you were just starting, how do you figure that out so you can manage your time in a better way?
Well, the first 2 years I really didn't. I kind of was just winging it. Fake it
Hmm.
till you make it is an American term, which
Yeah.
horrible term. Like I hate that. I would have been so much better off. And I try to get my clients just admit, like, you don't know what you don't know. There are no
Hmm.
stupid questions. And it's just, from how do I start an LLC to, what's a tax ID number to, what is IRS, these forms, what is this? What's this payroll tax stuff? You know what I mean? Like there's just all these things you don't know. So surrounding yourself with really good people, other business people, I think is huge. Um,
Hmm.
as far as what we refer to as our mastermind group, which is 20 years now. Probably the single best thing I ever did was start a mastermind group with some other high level businessmen. And they kind of pulled me along the way, I'd say. I might have formed it, but I was kind of the dumbest guy in the room, right? These guys all
Hmm.
were a little bit better than me. So um, I, just kind of went with that, started hanging out with other businesses where I could ask questions on a weekly basis. And then I got into business coaching later on, probably about year 5. I finally started a business coach.
Okay, so when you were like just starting and trying to get like surrounded, oh, you don't hear me? I'll pause it really quick. Okay, so here we are. We just had like a couple technical issues. Okay, go ahead, Craig.
Yeah. So yeah, the about year 5 is when I started with a business coach. And that between, meeting with other businesses, referral groups, kind of, faking it till I make it, starting
Hmm.
with a business coach really started to challenge where my weaknesses.
Hmm. Yeah, you were also mentioning like how important it is to be surrounded by the right people. And I think that's something that I have had like really clear, like probably since the past 3 or 4 years. And after I got that realization, I was like, yeah, it's super important to be surrounded by people that are where you want to be. So when was that moment for you?
You know, I mean, as far as that moment for me, I think is when I really kept saying once I hit $1 million in revenue per year, I
Hmm.
mean, I just had that insight, so it took me a while to get there, but I finally got there probably around year 5 or 6. And again,
Okay.
it wasn't like I had a whole bunch more money in the bank. I just was like, okay, I can start, seeing a million. Once I get to 1 million, I'll get to 2 million and so on. So I would say that that's when I was like, okay, now I'm walking, because I have a little saying for every time I start a new business or start a new revenue stream or something new. I'm like, we're crawl, walk, run, So
Yeah.
I was crawling for 5 years and really started walking when I hit that $1 million mark, and then started to, kind of take off. But it wasn't like this, business
Hmm.
is like this, right? It's up and down, up
Yeah.
and down, but the trajectory was still up. So the hard thing is when you're making money,
Hmm.
spending a lot of money, taking a lot of risk, and then all of a sudden your overhead goes up, but your production goes down and your income goes down. And, so those are the hard parts. And that's probably why 66% of all small businesses fail.
Okay. How old were you when you got your first million?
How was I?
How old were you?
How old was I? Probably about 43, 44 when I hit my first
Okay.
million. Yeah, in that neighborhood.
How did that feel?
It felt good, but again, like it's like, all right, you did $1 million, but you still you don't have $1 million, right?
Yeah.
You have more money in the bank that had a little bit more security, like a little bit more risk taking, you had a little bit more credit, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as was it what you made out in the back of your mind? No, not
Hmm.
at all. Not at all. Now,
Yeah.
I know a story. Tell the story during my keynote speeches. But when I was with a franchise, there was a guy named Rob Shatner, and he was on the East Coast, and he did 16 million, I'm sorry, he did $15 million.
Okay.
When he kind of just went through the roof, right? And everybody was talking about him. It kind of got out, it leaked out through the corporate people. And so I saw him. I was going to a convention on the East Coast, and I actually think it was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so I just got there, got off the plane, got my room, relaxed, showered or whatever. And I was going down to the first night activities, and I get in the elevator. And right before I start to go down, a hand comes in, and in walks Rob Shatner, the guy everybody's talking about. So he's
Hmm.
going down too. So we're riding down the elevator, and I'm like, He looks all, he had his Armani suit on, he had his hair and a little ponytail in the back, and he's gray and
Mm-hmm.
just looks sharp as heck. And I'm like, hey, Rob, Craig Moody, my brother and I think we met you last year. And he's like, oh yeah, Moody. He's like, yeah, California, right? And I was like, no, Arizona. He's like, yeah, yeah, Arizona. He says, how are you guys doing? I said, oh, good, man. I said, good. And I just went for it. I said, hey, man, I heard you killed it this year, 15 million. That's wild, man. I was like, I cannot wait. Like, if I could ever do that, that would be amazing. And he goes, oh, you heard about that, huh? And I said, yeah, I heard about that. And he goes, well, let me tell you something, Craig. He says, the things that you didn't hear was I spent 16 million doing that 15 million. And then he pumped me on the chest like that and goes, you made more money than I did, Craig. And he walked out the door. And it was like, what the heck?
Uh-huh.
So I was just like amazed. And it was really an aha moment of, oh crap, what did I get myself into? So it didn't really matter how much money you're making or doing revenues, bringing in. It's like how much is left at the end of the day. So learning your
Yeah.
financials is absolutely important. It's just one of the first things that we need to do. And I'm telling you, 3/4 of all small businesses do not understand their financials.
Oh yeah, like I actually like love the show Shark Tank, and so the things that the sharks always say is like you better know all your numbers because if no, how are you supposed to know everything else if you don't know what you can do with that money you
Hmm.
have and kind of
Correct.
like understanding everything. And I think that's something really important, like especially people I would say my age that are like kind of like just starting like full-time jobs or they just got out of school. I'm talking just about like the masses, like the majority of people. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that personal finances are similar at some point with corporate finance. Do you think is it like that?
Yeah, I think yeah, absolutely. As far as finance goes, I mean, in all word honesty, finance is a big word. I'd say dummy it down for like in high school, we should have a money management course. You're putting these people,
Mm-hmm.
we don't learn anything about personal budgets or money or any of that stuff. In fact, when I was in high school, they didn't. I don't know, maybe they do today. But I'm like seeing this, wow, I wish I could take a QuickBooks class, like a class that actually teaches
Mm-hmm.
QuickBooks, you know what I mean? Instead of just, you know, accounting software, or they like to call it, or whatever. I mean, QuickBooks is the 600-pound gorilla. Like, we need to learn this. How to, as far as money goes, as far as, understanding taxes, really, truly, like that would be a better high school course, I think, than what we take, than some of the stuff we take now.
I actually took one QuickBooks class in a community college.
Did you? So that was actually
Yeah,
QuickBooks. See, back in the day, they didn't have that for me. So I'm glad they finally got to that point. I sold
yeah.
QuickBooks. That was one of the products I sold at my printing company. So I kind of already
Mhm.
had a little bit of an idea how it worked.
Yeah, it was. I think I took it like in two classes because I took financial accounting and managerial accounting, but the entire course, or probably like, I don't know, more than 50% of the course was in QuickBooks. So it was kind of like we
Right.
got a good exposure on it.
Oh, absolutely. It's mostly so I like to run like 3 or 4 reports a day to know where I'm at. And that's what I did. I'd run these things nonstop, and that's what I teach my clients.
That's cool. And the reason why I was asking you this question, it was because I was watching a podcast with, it was between Jorge and Maurice. Jorge has the number one podcast in Mexico, like business wise, number one business podcast in Mexico. And Maurice is more like a financial expert. And they were talking a lot about how personal finance can help you to understand even more of corporate finance because if you're not able to manage your own debt, if you're not able to manage your own budget, your own investments, Roth IRA, brokerage account, whatever, how are you supposed to understand like everything in a bigger picture, right?
Mhm.
So how do you start learning about personal finance? Because I'm super passionate about that topic and I always try to keep track on my finances. I have a super detailed spreadsheet. Like every year I can like improve it. But sometimes I just said before, I don't know what I don't know, right? So I try to
Right.
do my research. And for
Hmm.
example, at the beginning of this year, I was reading the book that Maurice published. And it took me like 2 months to finish reading it because like I was reading something then I was like, okay, so I want to know more about this topic specifically. And okay, so I'm going to start learning about Roth IRA. And then I want to start investing on my Roth IRA. And then, for example, okay, so he's talking about brokerage accounts. Okay, so I'm gonna open a brokerage account and I'm gonna start like diversifying myself. But before that, I'm gonna start learning more about it. So I want you to tell me more about it.
Okay. Sorry, you kind of cut out there. But as far again, it was the as far as the finances go, is that what you were saying? Because I
Yeah.
lost you like the last 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So more about the finances. Yeah, so the as far as the finances go and from the start, I think that it really just becomes important as far as understanding, like what a gross profit is, what overhead means, and then the net profit, what's left at the end of the day with your net. Understanding breaking out your revenue streams. Like I have contractors who just have one line item, like whether they're doing, let's say they're doing a remodel inside. They got kitchen and bathrooms they're doing. They might be doing a deck or a fence or a garage or a roof, something like that. It's all one line item. It's like, no, 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 those are several different line items. Those are all revenue streams. So we need to start breaking it up. So I'm using contractors advice. Same thing in retail. It's like, what are your revenue streams? So we break all those out. And each one of those revenue streams has to have its own chart of accounts, meaning there's our expenses going into that revenue stream. So if the contractors guys are doing a remodel, then it's just going towards remodel. If it's doing a deck, a brand new deck, then it's just going towards deck. And that has like payroll in it and subcontractors and material and just different things, just different line items for all that. So understanding and setting up your data is only as good as what you're putting into it. So spend
Okay.
good money. I tell people when you're starting a business, the first thing you want to do is get a hold of a really, really good accountant and then have that accountant recommend a bookkeeper. If you're not good at that, if that's not your forte, get a bookkeeping going. Like there's just understanding your data, getting it put in right now. I have a few contractors that usually takes us 6 months or so to get the bookkeepers to fix all their data that they were putting it in wrong. So
Hmm.
QuickBooks is only as good as the data putting into it. So that's the first step
Okay.
is making sure that your data is correct. Secondly is learning to understand it, looking at it from a monthly basis. I like to do a
Hmm.
month to date report. I like to do a month, like the previous month, the previous quarter, whatever it is, see where we're at and making sure I'm looking at my revenue streams as far as what's making money and what's losing money. What should we axe, maybe get rid of altogether? If we
Hmm.
have a new opportunity, I'm always asking myself, what would I get rid of if I have a new opportunity, right? So you're looking
Yeah.
at that. And then one other thing I like to do, Luis, is to compare it to this time last year. So profit and loss, and then cash versus accrual is a big one. With contractors, it's always cash because it's just cash coming
Hmm.
in, really, because that's where you're at. And then we have another thing called WIP accounting, which is work in progress accounting. That's completely different. But as far as just kind of seeing where you were at, where was I at this time last year? I have two more employees. How much more money am I bringing in? How much more is higher is the net? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, am I truly going like this, making money? So those reports will start to tell you that. And it makes you feel good. You kind of show the team, opening it up. I opened my books up to my management team. I let them set the goals, which is huge. So I was setting goals. Having a goal, I think, is big with financials. You know what I mean? Because if you don't
Hmm.
know where you're going, any road will get you there. If you can't see there's another one say, I can't see the forest for the trees. So basically, it's like, okay, I want to do $1 million. That was my first goal, and it took me 5 years to do it. And I'm like, okay, I want to do 1.4 million, right? Am I on track? And the thing I found out about goal setting, there's a rule, which is the problem lies not in setting your goals too low and or the problem lies not in setting your goal too high and missing it. Okay. The problem lies in setting the goal too low and hitting it. And I've done
Hmm.
that before. I hit my goal one time in October and I lost all that money I made between the end of October, like November and December. We just died because we just took our foot off the gas. It's like
Okay.
yeah. So in all honesty, stretch them out there. And some of the people, it kind of depends. Some people are like, oh, I don't like that. I want to be able to reach my goals. It's like, okay, but then stretch it. Like, make it further than you think.
Hmm.
If you think you can do 1.5, make it 1.6. You know what I mean? Like, why not? What's
Yeah.
the worst thing going to happen? You do 1.55? Okay.
Hmm.
So that's a big thing. I'm sorry about that. Reviewing with your bookkeeper, understanding, the numbers, having a good relationship with your bookkeeper,
Hmm.
understanding your taxes, how to pay your taxes, whether it's monthly, quarterly, annually, whatever you're doing, that's up to your accountant and your LLC that you pick or your S Corp. Um,
Hmm.
I think it's a big one. Having a profit first mentality. There's a book out there for the listeners called Profit First. It's huge as far as taking your dollar, everything that you make, and putting it in, all your money coming in and putting it into these
Hmm.
different buckets as far as, where you're going to pay out, what you're going to pay out. And the profit first means you're paying yourself first.
Yeah.
This is I need to get paid first. And that's the mentality. Like I'm in business, I do all this, everything's at risk. My family, my mortgage, all my stuff's at risk. Why? It's to make money, to get secure, to see the financial secure for future. So understanding those buckets is huge. And then, when to, go buy a truck, for tax, understanding your taxes big time.
Hmm.
Trying not to pay too much taxes is a big game. So yeah, there's a lot to learn around financials.
Yeah. So when you said like buying a truck, you can hear me, right?
Yes,
Yeah. When you say about like buying a truck, so for example, if your profit was, let's say, 100K and you buy a truck for 40K, you only pay taxes on 60K, right?
correct. Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Well, I mean, yes and no. So really it's the interest that's written off 100% completely. And then the payment, but it's understood through the accountant. You have to really ask your accountant that question. The bottom line is you would have to immediately give more to the government. You would owe. So like your accountant sits down and says, "Hey, Craig, what do you think you're going to do this year?" And I said, "Well, I think I'm going to do about 1.1 million." The next time she looks on it, we're on track for 1.5. She's like, "Oh crap, we're only paying taxes on 1.1. So you're going to have to write a bigger check and or go put it back into the business." See what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah. So instead of, yeah, I can either give it to the government or I can go buy stuff and start writing stuff off. So
Like a truck.
like a truck. And the big one is usually automobiles because those are the best ones. They can kick the taxes down the road too, as far as the reimbursement goes. So
Okay. Because the vehicle is on the name of that company, so that's why, right?
yeah, you buy it under the company's name
Yeah, yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So that everything was bought like that. And in all honesty, I'm sure there's accountants, you can buy it under your name. It doesn't matter. But the bottom line is there's a what they call a ledger entry put in towards that vehicle that differs from your
Okay.
taxes.
Yeah. And when it comes to personal finance, how do you structure your own finances? Like the finances of the house,
Same,
like,
same as you said. I have a spreadsheet. In fact, if any of your listeners would like it, or if you would like it, I'm happy to share it with you. It's just a spreadsheet that asks all the questions, how much you spend a month, where you're at personally and how much you bring in, and it's pretty
mhm,
simple. But I think it just, kind of the main thing is it covers probably 90% of everybody's financials. I mean, there might be something in there, a category, which is miscellaneous other. What else can you
mhm,
think about that's not on here, which most stuff is. So putting that budget together, knowing where you're at, how much do I have to bring in each month to break even between me and my spouse,
mhm.
and how much, is going out and then rainy day funds and things like that.
What would you
So
say is the main difference between having the finances, like you said you're married, so what's the difference between organizing the finances yourself and you plus your spouse?
well, I mean, so through the years, I mean, the 20 years of business, we were in business. My wife had another job and worked for another company, so it was pretty simple when you're just getting a um, what is that called? The W-2 or W-4 that comes at the end of the year.
Okay.
And they could just, do that way. When my wife's in the business, and I can start paying her as an employee, it's different, right? So
Hmm.
that's just it's kind of a benefit, especially when I went to sell the company. All of the money that she made got to go back in towards the bottom line. Is so now the company's worth more money. So as far as but with the spouse, it's just it all comes down to taxes, dependents. We're how many dependents are in the house, the kids. Um, as far as where do we want to put our tax dollars towards is huge. Even when making the sale, you can now put it towards like the Newman Center, at campus or something like that. So that was huge. But in all honesty, Luis, I didn't dive too much into it. I'm not an accountant.
Okay.
I really did delegate a lot of that stuff. Like just, okay, my accountant, like I just ask her a lot of questions, like, have a good relationship with your accountant.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, for the sure. But as far as understanding on a daily basis, clicking on your QuickBooks and looking at reports and making sure they're right, that's where I really come in.
Hey, that's cool. And I'm asking you this question because I'm getting married like in 8 months. So my fiance and I have talked about it. So I'm like, I would like to know like what I need to know because finances are gonna be different, you know?
Congratulations. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll send you remind me to send you my document that I have, my spreadsheet, because it does have spousal income in there.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah,
that's
for sure. So yeah, congratulations. It's not that much harder. It's kind of almost easier, I would say, than being single.
uh-huh.
You pay less taxes being married.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be cool for us. And then I actually met her in the Newman Center. So you probably have seen her around. Yeah.
Ah, awesome. Yeah, the Newman
Yeah.
Center. I've seen a lot of marriages over well, I mean, I started going there right about the time Father Matt did. So like 14 years now. I've been
Okay, okay.
I just got on the board right away. So yeah,
So Corey,
congrats.
moving to a different topic, I would like to know more about your growth as a person without taking into consideration any type of numbers. Because the better you are, the more you invest in yourself. Of course, you're gonna bring better things, not only to yourself, but to your family, your collaborators, and everyone within your company. So, how do you grow yourself? How do you prepare yourself? And yeah, how do you do it?
Personal growth and development is definitely the secret behind my success. I didn't know anything about it. I hated high school. I couldn't wait to get out. I was not good at college. I just did not, I was not good at book learning, learning book
Hmm.
words. So after so many years of working for other people and coming back into it and realizing you need to learn was kind of a scary word.
Yeah.
There are motivational people out there that help you learn and tell you why you want to learn. So I was introduced to personal growth and development, I'd say in 2000, probably 6 or 7, by a
Okay.
man named Tom Light. And he said, hey, look, the money's out there to go do. We're not good enough to go get it. The
Hmm.
business is there. We just don't know what we don't know. So you need to grow yourself as a person, personally, professionally, and financially was the 3 things I learned. And those were all John Maxwell. He introduced me to
Hmm.
John Maxwell, who is my aircraft carrier of personal growth and development. And since then, I've added on other ones that are huge. But John Maxwell taught me that if you're a 4 in business, as far as hiring goes and bringing your team together, you're only
Hmm.
going to attract another 4 or lower, right? So the goal is to grow yourself to a 5 or a 6 so you can start attracting better talent. That's just a
Yeah.
given. The law of attraction is a given that
Hmm.
we're not going to attract a 7 if you're a 5. It's not going to happen. So you need to grow. So yeah, I dove into his teachings. I started doing the 21 laws of leadership, the 17 laws of teamwork. Just baby steps. Started listening to. I think back then it was an email that had like a podcast on it, and it wasn't a podcast yet, but it was just kind of a recording, an email I'd get every month. Then went to his website, joined his programs. Just started doing that. And then I found Brian Buffini shortly after that. Brian Buffini's a big realtor. He actually has the largest coaching program in the world. He's based out of San Diego, but really big on realtors and mortgage. But it's across the board. I learned so much from him. And then I got introduced to Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy's kind of big in the personal growth and development world, and he just kind of really spoke to me. And I got to tell you right now, there's thousands of these people out here.
Hmm.
Some of the top ones I've mentioned. And then through Darren Hardy, I met a guy named Kyle Wilson who ended up being the editor of my books. I have 2 best-selling books. Best-selling. I'm the best-selling author on Amazon twice.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And I have a third one coming out later this year. So that was really neat. So just started making these relationships and personal growth and development. I started going to seminars. I bought into courses. I would fly across the country to go see somebody speak. I went to all these different, um, as far as contractor seminars and meetings and, just being on these programs, they put on all these things and keynote speakers. Just
Hmm.
loved it. I really, really dove into it and just started to grow like, oh my gosh, this is so cool because, really I kind of had a, half glass, half full negative Nelly attitude coming out of high school in my younger years. And it was like, oh, there's more to life than just this, working hard and putting some money away
Hmm.
from retirement and dying. It was more about, making a difference, growing other people, having a team, being financially responsible, and basically becoming my own boss, was huge.
Yeah.
So what do you do? How do you hold yourself accountable? And yeah,
You're asking me, right?
Yeah.
So, so it's a good question, and I think I have it like really clear. And one of the things that I do like to keep myself accountable is never um, put away the most important things that are going to give me the best things in my life. And it's kind of simple, honestly. If I keep track on my sleeping schedule, my meals, and my workout routines, I don't know why, but everything else in my life aligns perfectly. So
Absolutely.
I started a diet at the beginning of this year, and I was at 288 pounds. Yesterday, I'm at 257 now.
Wow,
So
congratulations.
thank you. It's been
That's
a
so cool.
it's been a challenge, And one of the reasons why I did it was because I wanted to feel better, I wanted to be perceived better, and I wanted to kind of like become the better or the best version of myself, right? I think I'm right now at 50, between 50 and 60% of my goal. That goal is to reach my goal at 100% by December. So I think it's really realistic. And the reason why I did it, it was also because I wanted to prove myself that I can be as disciplined as I used to be. And I wanted to also implement hardest workouts in my routine. But for example, I wanted to run again, but I was like, I'm too heavy. I'm not handling. And for the past 3 weeks, I have been able to run between 4 and 5 times a week. And I'm like, okay, so I'm seeing the results now.
Right.
And I cannot tell others, hey, be disciplined. Hey, take care of your body if I don't take care of my body myself, right?
Correct.
So I wanted to make sure that I'm walking by the talk. It's how you say it, right? In English?
Walk the walk.
Walk the walk. Yeah,
Walk the
yeah.
walk. So it's like, you have to, if you want to, talk the talk, you need to walk the walk.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
meaning, are
One of
you
my
a
teammates,
BSer or not? Yeah.
yeah, one of my teammates told me that, and I was like, I was trying to remember it. So yeah, that's one
Yeah.
of the reasons. And something else that I do is like try to learn. And that's what I was asking you these questions before, because I want to learn by the experts. I want to learn by
Mhm.
people that are what I want to be. So, for example, with my professors, I always choose really carefully who I'm going to pay attention to. And I know this might be sound kind of like controversial, but yeah, I don't listen to everyone. I like to listen
Good.
to the right people. For
Oh,
example,
especially, yeah. Universities nowadays are full of, yeah, you got to be very aware at university. So I'm
yeah,
glad you said that. It's for me, it's kind of back to basics, Luis, as far as what did I tell you? Time management, right?
yeah,
So as far as your time management, when I'm scheduling my week, I do this on Sundays. I schedule a whole week out. Like, when am I going to do this? So right now, for the last couple of weeks, right, it's had Luis podcast on this date. I know what I'm
yeah,
doing Monday. I already had that done. I don't have to think about it and worry and wake up and what to do. Like, I'm behind. I'm already trying to catch up if I'm trying to start my week
yeah,
Monday morning, right? It's already there. I know what I'm doing. I have a routine. So it started with Hal Elrod, Miracle Mornings. So I wake up early and I take care of me before my wife and kids get up. My kid, I have 3 kids and only one's left at the home. But before they get up, I get up in intentionality and I take care of myself. So I have my spiritual time. I have my affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading. I scribe. I write a lot during that time before anybody else
yeah.
gets up. I've already done all that stuff, right? And then I have a little bit of time of getting my wife and kid out the door, and then maybe I'm going to work. I have an office that I'm not at today. So I just have to get there. And then it's like, what am I doing? Well, Mondays is big on content for social media, blogs, writing, doing podcasts,
Hmm.
talking to people that I connectors, that are going to get me into, I do doing keynote speaking now. So like I'm working with a guy, I just did a text this morning. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. Excuse me. So just kind of that. And then I just know like, okay, well, Tuesday I have a client from this time to this time. This time I'm going to make a new video for social media.
Hmm.
This time I'm going to work on my LinkedIn. This time I'm going to work on my top 50 list and keep networking for more clients for my coaching program. This
Hmm.
time I own a business with my daughter called Allure Aesthetics. It's a skincare business, like, hair removal and skincare.
Yeah, you
So
told me
I
about
have
it the
to
other
work
day.
with her. Yeah. So I have to work with her. So I just basically, my whole week is lined up. Oh, my workouts are in there. Oh, date night with my wife is in there. My son's football practice or football games are in there.
Hmm.
So it's personal, professional, spiritual, church, meeting, board meetings, the Newman Center, everything's in there. Everything's already in there.
Yeah.
So really getting just as far out as you can book and getting your calendar clear. So when somebody asks you, you're like, yes, I can do that. So, I know you do that, but I'm, for the listener, as far as scheduling your time, and the first thing I said was time management. The most successful people in the world, the 0.4% of the people in the world versus the 96.6 are really good at one thing, and that is managing their time.
I love that you say that, Craig, because one of the people I'm working for right now, his name is Alvaro Nunez. He's a CEO of Super Luxury Group in Miami. And he just published his book. I think it was in late 2022. It's called Level Up. It's a bestseller in Amazon as well. And I read his book and I learned a lot and I have applied a lot of that stuff. And something that he said that really stuck to my mind, it was about the wheel of life, which is like 7 things in that wheel. So you have to make sure that you put
Hmm.
a lot of effort in every single part of the wheel. And it was about finances, spiritual life, your body, your family, your habits. And I don't remember the 7 of them, but it was kind of like to be a well-rounded individual and something that I have really clear, like for my future marriage, for my family, when I have kids and everything, is like I never want to feel successful in the professional life and then being a failure in my personal life. Because I think I can be successful personal wise and eventually I'm gonna be successful professional wise. But if I'm successful professional wise and I'm not having good success in my house with my wife and my kids, I'm like that success in my professional side, like that doesn't mean anything, right?
Well, it'll 100% show up. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It'll affect your business life. You've got to have your personal house in order before you can really go do a successful business. So growing yourself. So yeah, that balance wheel that you were talking about, my mastermind group, we did that in 2015, 16.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was 2017 we did it. And we were going through it. And for one guy, it was his relationship with his spouse. He ended up actually getting divorced. Another guy was relationship with his employees. For me, it was always my health. So you have, spiritual, financial, health, relationship with spouse, relationship with family, and then business. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of those were the 7 for the most part. I think I touched on most of them. For me, it was always my health. I was always overweight, and just, always stressed out. And I just wasn't, all the rest of these guys were really, really good. So I did like you did. And once I decided that and I put my mind to it and I really found a groove, I ended up losing 50 pounds in 1 year. And that's when I started.
Wow.
But at the same time, my business was going like this, Luis. So I
Uh-huh.
started focusing on myself. I started getting really, really good, insane productivity through Darren Hardy. I took a course
Uh-huh.
and started managing it. I started staying home more, not going into the office. I would only started managing the managers. I wasn't managing anybody else underneath them. That was all up to them, right? I gave
Mm-hmm.
them a lot of freedom. And then I took care of my kid. I stayed home during COVID with my kid and I worked on the business. And then I ultimately got it to a point where I could sell it in 2021. I sold it after
Yeah.
20 years and I grew the largest restoration company that was locally owned here in Northern Arizona. So I'm very proud of that fact. At the same time, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't passionate about it, but it was that spiritual balance wheel that really started getting me going and focusing on it that you're talking about.
I love you saying that, Craig, because as I told you, I think my dad is kind of like the same age as you. And my grandpa just had a stroke like 3 weeks ago, and he had a stroke in 2018. And since he was 50, he has gotten 3 heart attacks. And one of the main reasons was because of the addictions that he had in the past when he was in his 20s and 30s and even 40s. So I was like, I'm kind of like learning from the mistakes of my grandpa, right?
Mhm.
And right now, whenever I talk to my dad, and I just talked to him yesterday and last week about literally the same thing, that I was like, hey, like, you're next. And after you, I'm next. But I'm doing something now to prevent that, I'm starting a diet and I'm extremely committed to that. And I won't tell you that I'm going to start exercising because I started when I was 3 years old and I never stopped exercising. And I told my dad, hey, so when are you going to start exercising? Because I told you 8 years ago when I was, oh no, 9 years ago. Oh, wow. Almost 10 years ago when I was 15. So it was when I started working out at a gym. But I never started working out because I have always been playing baseball, swimming, everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, I told you to start 8 years ago. What are you going to do now? because I mean the best time for you to start was probably like 8 years ago when I told you that it's the second best time is now. And I was like, okay, so yeah, you're right, Luis. So I'm probably like learning a lot with everything that is happening right now with your grandpa. And I was like, yeah, you're learning and you're kind of like being more conscious now. But whenever you want to start acting, because that doesn't mean anything, you acknowledging that
Mhm.
is like acknowledging and
Action.
putting the work on, right? Yeah, the
Absolutely.
action. So
Yep.
I talked to him yesterday, like literally in the evening, and he was like, yeah, I started exercise this week. And I was like, okay, so you started. I don't want you to tell me again that you started,
Yeah.
because if you tell me again that you started, that means that you stopped and you shouldn't be stopping. And I was like, what are you doing for your workouts? So he was not like telling me, and I was like, okay, and how do you divide like the muscles? Like, do you do like back and bicep one day and then you do legs, or how do you do it? I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't have like everything tracked. And I'm like, I mean, you better do it, because if you don't track yourself, how are you going to know when you're making progress or not? So
Absolutely. Two
that's
things
kind
I
of
want to,
like what
two
I'm
things.
telling him.
Yeah. So two things with that. There's a common saying in smokers that when they quit, they say quitting's easy. It's the not starting up again that's so damn hard.
Uh-huh.
Right. So that's one of them. Right. And the other one is uh, I lost the other thing I was going to say, but it's more about oh, I know what it's about. It was like, when are you ready? So people make changes when it hurts bad enough. So right now for your grandpa, it hurts bad enough. Like he's
Hmm.
trying to make a change. Doesn't mean he 100% will be successful, but he's trying, you know. And so it's hurt bad enough for him. That's why I do not like New Year's resolutions, because they just don't last. It's a date. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. I mean, when you're ready, you know, I started on that journey probably like in October or November. Wasn't January 1. By January 1 rolled around, I had already lost 10, 15 pounds, and I was, you know, like
Hmm.
I was 100% in to lose that weight. So, you know, that went great until about COVID. I started putting it back on. And it wasn't so much about just going to do it. I had to have a why. The why was more important than the vision of the success that would be
Hmm.
with it. It's like, what's your why? For me, you know, it was just, you know, I wanted to grow my business. I wanted to have a healthy relationship. I knew it was part of my, so we're talking about the balance wheel. Well, everything was going
Hmm.
good, but that part was flat. So it still wasn't
Hmm.
smoothing. You know, it wasn't like this. My life wasn't like this. It was like this, boom, right? So we're just trying to get to just roll, right? So that was that part of the balance wheel. So one thing is don't believe in New Year's resolutions. Don't put a date or a time on it. The best time to start is today. Like there's no like
Yeah.
everybody's like contractors. Oh, I'm getting fixing to. I'm getting ready to. I'm constantly gonna do this sometime. Well, why not today? Why not tomorrow? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's like, oh, I have to do this before I can do that. I got to do this and this and this and then that. It's like, no, that's you're lying to yourself. Those are all excuses. So
Yeah.
yeah, personal growth and development is huge as far as your health goes is big. You know, but just constantly studying, there's so much to do. It's so easy to learn nowadays. You've got podcasts, you've got YouTube, you've got TED Talks, you've got,
Hmm.
you know, anything you can line up for. It's just there, and whoever turns me out, like the ones that really I get excited about, Luis, doesn't mean you're going to be excited about them, but
Hmm.
there's dozens and dozens more. So you've got to pick the ones you like, make sure that they have a good reputation, they've got a proven track record, and follow them and start doing what they're doing.
Yeah, and I actually resonate with that, because when you were mentioning about a New Year resolution, I mean, I'm 25 years old, so probably I started with resolutions when I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I don't know. And I have actually accomplished only three. And
Oh,
one was
nice.
keeping track of all my workouts and baseball games. And I did it between January 1st, 2015, and I think I stopped like in 2019. And the
Yep.
reason why was because I wanted to become a professional baseball player, so I had to make sure that I was improving, right? So
Yep.
I tracked it for years around. And then the other New Year resolution was my podcast, because I was like, oh, in 2020, I'm gonna start. And I started my podcast in 2020, and it's been almost 5 years. So I'm like, I don't even remember that it was a New Year resolution when I do it. I do it because it became a habit and it became part of my life. And the other thing was this year, my diet. And I'm like, I wanted to quit honestly at some point. When I lost my first 10 pounds, I was like, oh, cool, like I'm cool. And I'm like, no, I'm like literally like 15%
Mhm.
of my goal. I need another
Wow.
85%, right? And right
Yep.
now I have been doing it for 5 months,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I'm at 50, 60%. So I'm like, do I want to quit with a with an F? Probably not, right?
Mhm.
And as I told you that I started running, I was like, I'm super grateful that my body allows me to run again. Because I
Yes.
was like, I have been waiting to run like comfortable without dying since probably 2018, 2019. And last week I run my first half an hour here in Flagstaff. And I had never done that in Flagstaff because my minute five, minute six, I was dead. And
Mhm.
I hadn't run half an hour probably since 2017. And when I did it, like by minute 15, I was like, oh, 15 is enough. And I'm like, I don't want to finish like 50%. And then when I was doing laps, and 10 laps was going to go 30 minutes because each lap would take me 3 minutes. And I
Mhm.
was like, I'm in lap eight. I'm like, I'm at 80%. I'm super close to 100. And I'm like, I won't finish until I'm at 100. So it's kind of like a good way to motivate myself.
Right.
And in 2019, it was when I started listening my first podcast ever, and it was with Roroy Chavez. I started listening to him because he popped out on my social media. He talks about leadership, relations, networking. He's a great leader, and he's Catholic as well. So I
Mhm.
resonated with him a lot. He was with Pope Francis, I think 3 weeks ago, and he has done like a lot of like great projects in the Catholic world.
Mhm.
And last year, I interviewed him for my podcast, and I was like, "Oh, that's super cool," because I saw you as kind of like unapproachable for the past 4 years. And now, I think like a month ago, his manager invited me to represent him here in Arizona to find like
Oh,
speaking
wow.
engagement opportunities. And I'm like,
Congrats.
kind of like a dream for me, because I
Oh,
was like, I saw
absolutely.
you
Uh,
unapproachable, but what made me get to you and kind of like, I just had a meeting with him last Thursday, and I'm like, that's super exciting because it's like the more I work on myself, the more I can contribute to people and to society. So I'm gonna be attracted to people that are what I want to be. That's the way I see it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Role models in your life.
Yeah.
There's some pain points that come with that for sure. There's lifters and there's leaners. You know what I mean? There's people in your life that have been lifting you and leaning. They may be immediate
Mm-hmm.
family members, cousins. They may be lifelong friends. They may be
Mm-hmm.
college buddies, that you really hit it off with the last 4 years. Maybe your spouse's family, different people like that, neighbors, just friends. And what I ended up seeing was, they all wanted me to go like this with them, right? And you got to start doing this. You really
Mm-hmm.
got to start surrounding yourself with different people. So saying goodbye to some lifelong relationships were some of the hardest things I ever had to do. It just kind of happened naturally. you
Yeah.
know it's okay to cross that bridge once in a while and go back just for a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. You know what I mean? It's like a high school reunion. You go see them for a day or two and then you're gone
Yeah.
again. But as far as they say that your pay, your income is going to be the average of the five people you hang out with the most, right? So if you
Mm-hmm.
look at your other four friends or other five friends, think about that. Where are you at with them? You're probably right in the middle, right? So,
Yeah.
and then their five, are different than your five. So they're probably right in the middle. You want to be that. So you're constantly trying to hang out with higher level people like
Mm-hmm.
like Chavez, so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of that's the cost of leadership, man. When you go to be a leader and
Yeah.
go to grow yourself and good things, it's not, it's not for the weak. It's not for the easy. It's definitely, you've got to be able to be very comfortable and understand where you're going.
Even if that includes leaving your country, right?
Leaving your country, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It's that's just what has to happen for sure. So you'd probably understand more than most people do.
Craig, this is a question that I always ask to all my guests, or probably like 90% of my guests. How do you network successfully?
Network successfully for me is changed over the years. I always like a referral group. I think is huge. I always try to land all my clients in a referral group, meaning a referral group is you have one person of each profession that they meet weekly or every other week. So it's like one realtor, one mortgage, one contractor, one plumber, right? And so they start getting together, and just that one, they're allowed in the group. Then you have to start referring each other out, and you give presentations on your company and your business or your product, whatever you sell, and you start referring each other out. And the one that I found was in the BNI is something called Giver's Game. BNI is Business Networking International, and I've just kind of studied that group. I've never really been part of it, but They say givers gain, meaning the more you give referral wise, the more you get back. So I have become the hub of my referral network. I mean, I get probably 2 or 3 texts a day just from people in my cul-de-sac right here asking for some sort of another company they need, windows, roofer, you know, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
realtor, mortgage, you know, anything, florist, right? So
Mm-hmm.
um, that constantly happens. So I joining that referral group is huge. Joining the local chapter of your the what am I trying to say? The uh, what's it called? Chamber of Commerce. My apologies. Joining
Mm-hmm.
your local chamber of commerce can be big. It costs money, but you're going to, be paying and you're going to be part of a networking group. I found that.
Mm-hmm.
I also found just my biggest thing I ever did, Luis, and it's really hard to do in this day world, is walk in, shake hands, and drop your business cards on their desk and tell them who you are and try to create a relationship. Who is it? And it takes more than one stop. You got to keep going in that door. And it can be really uncomfortable for some people trying to do that because people don't think you're serious until you've went in 5 or 6 times. They're like, this guy ain't going away. He's got a business. I know what he does. I know his name. Sometimes I'm not happy to see him, but man, he's a great guy. And if I ever do
Mm-hmm.
refer somebody out to him, I do. And that's how I built my network is for 10 years, I really was what we call face to face, just shaking hands. That's the most powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Another way to back that up is personal notes. Just write. That's a Brian Buffini thing. Write 3 personal notes a day, 3 thank you notes
Uh-huh.
a day. Like right now, I can thank the podcast that I was on this morning, and I could thank Luis Estrada Lopez. He's going to get a thank you card from me, right? So it's like that's just building my network up. There's nothing more
Yeah.
powerful than a personal handwritten note. Handwritten, not an email, not a text message. It's a handwritten note. People will most likely open it and be excited to read it, and it'll mean more because they spent all that time doing that.
Yeah.
Um, there's tons. I started getting on different, um, industry lists, as far as getting on with different insurance companies, going to seminars, going to, annual conventions, things like that
Mhm.
were huge. Just having people, the mastermind group, and then just inviting clients to my top level clients, knowing who my top level clients were. There's the 80/20 rule, you know that, right?
Now what?
The 80/20 rule. Have you heard that?
I think invest, it's something like that. Like invest 80% of your time in the 20% of the things that you like the most, or something like that, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you're kind of right on the right track. But as far
Okay.
as sales go, there's 80% of your business will come from 20% of your clients,
Yeah,
right?
something like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so that's the thing is like you really need to find out who that 20% are. So you gotta get really good at what? Another thing, logging, right? You have to
Mm-hmm.
capture data, just like we were talking about QuickBooks. That's data. Who's your top referrers? And you spend more time with your top referrers and you start taking them to lunch and you start sending them gifts. And then I started taking them fishing up to Lake Powell. Like it was just I started, just grinding, like making sure that they were getting really, really well taken care of. They started getting Arizona Cardinal football tickets, things like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
just tracking that 80/20 rule as far as networking goes, just know that 80% of your business, 20%. Same thing with referrals. Same thing with money, dollars, whatever. It's your refers, your top refers are going to give you 10, are going to become 10, 15 times more valuable than your average
Mm-hmm.
refer.
I love everything that you're saying, Craig. And I think right now, like with everything you're saying, I'm like, right now, I feel super lucky. And I don't know if lucky is the right word, but I feel super lucky that right now, like my bosses or my supervisors are like people that I truly admire. And I'm like, what are the chances that I have like three people that I admire a lot? For example, like I work in the office of the NAU president, and I was like, oh, that's super cool that I work for him. I work with Alvaro Nunez in Super Luxury Group, and I was like, I didn't know that I was gonna have the chance to learn from a boss that is like more like a leader. And for example, he's doing right now RAM, the race across America, which is the
Mm-hmm.
toughest bike ride in the
Wow.
world, from San Diego to New Jersey, 3,000 miles. He
Ouch.
started, I think, this past Wednesday or Tuesday, something like that. But he's on it right now, and he's trying to break the world record. And last year, he did the hardest marathon on Earth, 6 days in the Sahara Desert. And on top of that, he was carrying a 45-pound weight
Right.
on his back.
Oh my
And I'm
God.
like, I'm learning from him. He was in the Cannes Festival in South France in, I think, like a month ago or 3 weeks ago, something like that. And I'm like, that's super cool that I'm getting kind of like a little taste of the experiences that he's living, because getting into a meeting with him or getting like just like the same stuff that he gets sometimes, just when it comes like to networking or like being part of the decision making process, I'm like, I'm super lucky that my boss, I truly admire him, and I admire him before he was my boss. Or with Roro, I'm like, he was unapproachable to me. And right now, this past Wednesday or Thursday that I was in a meeting with him, I'm like, I can't believe that I'm in a meeting with him and listening to his voice, knowing that every single day I will listen to his podcast or his videos. And I'm like, I think I'm super blessed for that. And
Right.
I think many people need to, I would say, pay attention to that. Like, work for someone that you're gonna learn from them, like you want to have a supervisor that are going to take you to the next level. And it's kind of like I would say it's the best way to learn, because if you're learning from people that you like, the chances that you're going to learn and apply are way higher. I don't remember where I saw this stat. I want to do my research and I want to send to you, but there has been research about it. Like when you learn from people you like it's better.
Right. Oh, absolutely. For sure. Somebody you're attracted to. Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's the law of attraction again that we talk about.
Yeah. So,
For
Craig,
sure.
before finishing this episode, something that I always do with my guests. First of all, thanks for bringing the power today. And my last guest asked you a question, and he didn't know that you were going to be my next guest.
Okay.
He's a director of business development and sustainability in Pozuelo. It's a company in Costa Rica, kind of like Bimbo in Mexico, but Pozuelo is like Bimbo in Costa Rica.
Okay.
And he's asking you, where do you think AI is going to be in 10 years? And how do you think that AI has like something to do with our lives in our day to day?
Wow, that's a really good question. I don't know if
Yeah,
I've thought about how far it's going to be. I know that AI kind of scares me a little bit too.
yeah,
I'm using it every day with my clients. I've already used it probably 3 or 4 times this morning just to write posts.
yeah,
So it's definitely changing. Those people need to get on board with it now, um, for good or for bad. But it's helping make me much more productive for
uh-huh,
sure. Like my productivity, not having to think. I write a lot. I'll write a blog and I'll punch it into AI and see what it looks like. And then
hmm,
usually I have to dummy it down a little bit and make it more my personal. I don't like it being completely not mine. But after writing a couple books and seeing what editors did to my stuff, it's kind of like a free editor. So yeah, it's been very, very helpful. As far as 10 years goes, I don't know, man. It's kind of scary. Like it as long as the again, there's good human beings and there's bad human beings. As long as the good human beings have the upper edge that we're using
hmm,
AI for good and for productivity and for the good, well, if it starts being used for bad and used against people and being lied to and manipulative, then that can be really scary. That's what scares me. So where
okay,
AI is going to be in 10 years is it's going to either, again, it's going to be really, really bad, or it can be, pretty good, I would say.
yeah,
So again, that's just my biggest. It's probably not the answer he was looking for, but I just know that it's kind of like a nuclear weapon. We have to protect it now.
okay. And what question do you want to ask my next guest?
Your next guest, absolutely. I'd say in a world of nonstop information technology, how do you protect yourself and stay positive? How do you what brings you down and what brings you up? And what do you do on a daily basis to stay positive and keep the negativity out of your head?
Okay, I'm finishing writing it. Okay, I got
Repeat
it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got it. I got it. And okay, I already asked you like a ton of questions, Craig. Ask me one or two about everything that you want. Can be anything. But if one of my previous guests already asked me the question or the question that you want to ask me, you gotta choose a different one.
Okay. When did you get engaged?
February 27th. No,
Nice.
February 17th. The wedding is on February 27th. Yeah.
How did you ask her?
Okay, well, it's a fun story. Yeah, I've never shared it in an episode. So, okay, I'll tell you about it, Craig.
Okay.
Okay, I was planning it. I wanted to be. So when someone asked me if I got engaged, most of the time I think February 24th, because that was the day when I wanted to propose her. But it was on the 17th, the week before. The only reason was because I was like, if it snows on the 24th, I won't have the time to propose her until April or May. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it like the week before. And we went to Sedona, and then I told her like we were going to be taking pictures because I wanted her to dress the
Yeah.
way she wanted to dress. And I was like, I want to dress kind of like in the same level as her. So we
Mhm.
were wearing the same clothes. She was like all black and I was all black. And then I told her like, I want you to have like an outfit in your car that you want to dress for the day I'm going to propose you. Because I don't want to tell you, hey, like dress formal tonight. We're gonna go on a date because
Right.
now you're gonna be thinking that I'm going to propose you. So
Yeah.
I kind of like prepare her that way. So I had my nice outfit on my backpack, and she already had her nice outfit on the trunk of her car. And then so we went to Sedona, and when we were in the highway, she was like, "Hey, Luis, whenever we get married, I think Sedona is a nice place for a honeymoon." But whatever, like we'll talk about the honeymoon whenever you propose me. And I was like, it's in an hour, right? Like
Yeah.
we were already there. And I was like, the thing is like the night before, I had already planned everything. I got some flowers and I gave these flowers. So my baseball teammates, they were gonna travel that weekend. So one of my friends gave me a ride to buy flowers for her, and then we dropped the flowers in my friend's wife house because my friend's wife, Brie, she was gonna give us the flowers to the restaurant the following day.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then I already got a Brie is Craig's wife. Craig is my one of my closest friends. He's gonna be one of my best men actually.
Okay.
And Brie takes photos. So Brie lent me a tripod. And the night before of the proposal, I broke it by accident when I was trying to fix everything. And I'm like, no way.
Oh.
So I don't have a tripod. And then my neighbor, which is my coworker as well, he has a tripod because he takes a lot of photos. So I just sent him a text like at 1 a.m. in the morning. And then when I woke up, he sent me a text. Hey, Luis, I just left to, I think he was in Albuquerque. And he texts me like at 4 a.m. Hey, Luis, I just left, but I left you the tripod outside my house so you can just go grab it. And I was like, wow, I'm super lucky. So we
Wow.
went there and I was carrying in my backpack like a lot of stuff for the proposal, but he didn't know what I was carrying. I don't remember what I made up that day. And then and I was like, yeah, close your eyes. We're gonna take pictures in cool poses, but just close your eyes. And then she was like, okay. So I said everything, and then we just took a picture. And we did it like 3 times, so she wouldn't suspect. And then after that, I was like, I was trying to find the right place to do it because she had told me whenever you propose me, I don't want people around. And I
Right.
found a really nice spot, and it was one lady there. And I was like, whatever, it's gonna be here. And then
Yeah.
fortunately, the lady left when I was
Right.
setting up everything. And I
Right.
was like, hey, close your eye. This is gonna be your favorite picture. And I took forever because I was kind of like making
Mhm.
sure everything was set and I was recording the moment and everything, music, everything. And then she was like, why are you taking forever? And I was like, wait, you know soon, right? And then I kneeled and then I was just like telling her like everything that I wanted to tell her. And she thought that I was joking because I had gave her like a promise ring. And I was like, I just continued talking and I was like, I don't care that she doesn't believe me. She's gonna figure out that it's for sure. And then she just started crying and then she hugged me when I finished and then she said yes. So
Oh,
it's how it
congrats.
was. Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow, that's smart.
And I have a video of everything. It was
Oh
a
my
lot of
gosh.
planning.
Yep. That's the
And
big
I
thing nowadays. Got to have
yeah.
video pictures of all that. Yeah.
The thing is like I told her like, hey, I never messed with you about this. Why do you think that I was joking? She was like, I don't know. I think it was just my reaction. I wasn't expecting it. So it was
That's
super cool. And
awesome.
then after that, we went to eat lunch in Sedona to a cool restaurant. And then we drove to Flagstaff. So I changed my clothes and I showered because it was super hot that day in Sedona and it was February, but in Flagstaff it was super cold. And then She wore like a dress or something like that. And then when we go to the restaurant in Flagstaff, my friend drove the flowers for her. So
Wow.
it was so fun because like during these months, I lied a lot to her, but I was keeping track of every single lie. So by the moment I proposed her, she could know like all the stories and everything that happened during these like 2 months of planning, you know?
Wow. That's awesome.
And something that
That.
was super funny was like the night before we went to work out together in the at the gym. And when she was done, I wanted to continue for a little bit. So she was carrying my phone, and I had sent her a video, but she had forgotten her phone in her car. So she just grabbed my phone and went to WhatsApp to find herself to see the to find the video. And when she grabbed my phone, I panicked so bad
Oh,
because
yeah.
because I was like any app that she opens, there's something about me proposing her tomorrow.
Oh my
So
gosh.
she opened WhatsApp, and one of the conversation, it was my friend was like, and she knows Isabella, and she was texting me, "Hey Luis, do you have the ring ready? Do you have everything ready for the proposal?" But the top message was not about it. So I
Oh,
was like,
thank
okay,
God.
so she didn't see it. But I was like, if she
Oh,
opens
whew.
Google, my last search was the place where I was going to propose her. And if she opened my reminders, if she opened my notes, everything was like I had like a really detailed
Oh,
itinerary.
wow.
Even like if she opened my iMessage, I had my conversation with Brian, with Craig about the flowers for the following day. So
Mhm.
it was like all the people involved in the proposal was just like something in my phone. I had a conversation with them about it like in the past couple hours, you know? So it was like, and the following day, I told her everything about it. And it was like, you were about to catch me. And if you would have caught me, I was just going to propose you in a different day, you know?
Awesome. Well, hey, congratulations. August 3rd, this in a couple months here. Next month or month and a half, August 3rd will be the anniversary of my wife's and I's 30-year anniversary of our first date. So
Wow.
yeah, coming up.
Congrats.
So yeah, I've been married 28 years. Started with faith-based, so where you started, so always keep that at top of mind. And yeah, it's good luck.
That's super
Definitely,
cool.
yeah,
Super
the odds are
cool.
against you, but I think that you're going to be fine, and just keep faith part of your life, and you'll definitely just keep going, just keep going, and it's
Thank
good.
you, Craig.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the conversation. For people that are listening, thanks so much for staying until the end of this episode. Please share this episode with people that you think they're gonna love it. So, Craig, where do you would like to send the people to follow you, either your webpage, social media?
Absolutely. You can put my phone number on there for them. But so my website is craigmoody.co, CRAIG Moody, MOODY.co. Not, yeah, no M. And then my email is craig@thebizclimb.com. So the BIZ climb, CLIMB.com.
I'll
Either
put it in the
way,
description.
yeah, you can put my phone number in the notes for those that
Okay.
are okay.
All right. See you in the next episode, everyone.
Thanks, Luis.
And please share this episode in your Instagram stories. You can find me as at empower_Luis Estrada. I just changed my username, so I was about to forget. All right. I'll see
Awesome.
you in the
I
next
appreciate
episode.
it. I had a blast.
All
Yeah.
right. Bye
Yep.
bye.